Recently in life, it has become apparent that for some years now, I have allowed I have allowed myself to become very distracted by things which don't carry much value. Mostly, these distractions all fall under the same umbrella, which is of digital media consumption and screen time. Examples would be things like YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Instagram, anything like that, anything that falls under that category. I have allowed myself to consume so much of this sort of content. And sure, you could say some of it is educational and there is some value there, but the majority of it is not. The majority of it is simply entertainment content. And there are times, I could even argue there are times where if I'm feeling very low, maybe some form of comedy coming from that realm in digital media will actually help me to cope in my day-to-day existence. So I acknowledge that, but overall that doesn't excuse how lazy I have become in just letting myself consume as much as I have been. And as a side effect of spending so much time on consuming such services or anything in that realm, actual interests and hobbies start to fade. Or at least maybe the interest doesn't fade, but I'm not doing them. I haven't been doing certain hobbies. So I've had a lot of time now, some months, as a certified massage therapist in our new contact free world where my career is on hold. And luckily for me, in my personal situation, I'm not affected that negatively by that, as crazy as that might be. I know some people are having a hell of a time. I think of single parents during this phase we've been in. Single parents who were just barely scraping by, and now the amount of stress I can't even begin to imagine. I'm lucky and blessed that in my specific life, this time has been more of a blessing than anything, allowing me to really look at my life and decide that I want to make these changes. And so I have been involving myself more in hobbies and interests and skills that I want to learn. One of which is practicing Spanish. I'm practicing Spanish every day. I haven't been the best about that during this entire phase, but recently I have been. Also, much more slowly and with less less of a priority, but I'm still interested in it and I'm still doing it, is learning piano. I've chosen an advanced song for myself to learn that will require much more practice than usual. I've been lazy about that in the past as well, these past years. Picking a song to learn that I know is just very simple and I can learn it quickly in a couple days. And then you learn it, you play it. Maybe a family member will hear it and they say, "Good job." There's not much value to it when there is no hard work, when there's not much of a process involved, and it's just when something comes very easily. And I kept choosing that path. I kept choosing the easy stuff to do. But anyway, so right now just started to work on an advanced song. Hopefully I stick with it. But most importantly, and something that changes my entire life, is my interest and fascination with dreams and lucid dreaming, which I got involved with when I was about 16 years old. And somewhere around that time, shortly after getting involved with it, is where my peak was when it comes to the skill of lucid dreaming. When I say peak, I mean I was at my peak. I was having 3 to 4, absolute maximum would be 4 lucid dreams per month when I was at my best in practicing this skill. And I loved everything about it. Of course, there is some there is a negative side to it, but it's largely outweighed by all of the positives. The negative would be that with the vivid and very strong and well exercised dream recall ability, what happens there is you end up also remembering more of the disturbing dreams, the bad dreams, the anxiety dreams, and anything like that, even or just the mundane, meaningless dreams, seemingly meaningless. Uh, you remember all of those too, and sometimes you won't have a quote unquote cool dream for a long time, and you just stack up these strange and bizarre memories. But the value that I'm able to derive from the positive experiences outweighs all of that. But anyway, the point is, I'm getting back into that for a week and a half now, a little over almost 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I'll say, or so, I decided that I was going to commit myself to this, and I've been writing my dreams, any form of a memory, even if it's just a small impression or an image, and there's no actual plot or dream or major theme that played out. Any memory I have, I write it down. I wake up and I write it down. Even if I wake up and it's 2 a.m., it's 3 a.m., it's 4 a.m., it doesn't matter. I wake up, I turn on a gentle light, and I record maybe just some simple notes that I will elaborate on later. Sometimes I'll sit and write a couple pages. But I record them as soon as I have them, because I've learned from experience and from reading tips on how to do these things, that when you wait, you think you're going to remember it, and you wait until the morning, usually you don't. Usually you forget the entire dream, or maybe a lot of it. Anyway, every day I've done this for a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And just this morning, as well, I've been performing reality checks throughout the day in my waking life, knowing that eventually that habit will carry over. Eventually I will, believing I'm in waking life, I will perform one, it will fail, and I will then realize that I am inside of a dream, which is what happened this morning. Unfortunately, I think because I'm so interested in recultivating this skill, that I've been kind of excited about when it's going to happen. So this morning, as soon as it happened, I performed a reality check, attempting to push my thumb through my hand and feeling it pass through, realizing I'm dreaming. I got so excited that I can't even remember the rest of it. It was some short moments later I was awake. But still, I'm inspired by this progress, because it only took a week and a half of doing this, and I've also been recording some pretty vivid dreams in the meantime. Oh, another thing I didn't mention is that a part of this, as well as I've been learning about sleep, reading a book about sleep, and maybe this has been common sense to. I was talking to somebody about this, and they implied that, like, dude, this is common sense, but I didn't. That's not how I thought. I've been I've been working the closing shift at my job for years, and not crazy late, but I get off at 10 p.m. and then there's a certain period where you kind of need to unwind, and it's been normal for me to go to sleep around 1 or 2 a.m. and waking up at 9 or 10, or getting up at 9 or 10, sometimes less. But I would get roughly, pretty close to 8 hours every day, and I felt that in my mind, 8 hours is 8 hours, and that's fine. But I'm learning now that all of the current research suggests that this is not the case. 8 hours is not 8 hours. We are meant to be asleep during the night, not go to sleep in the middle of the night when, I can't articulate all of the reasons off the top of my head, as this information is actually kind of new to me. But I'm seeing now that all the research suggests it's a healthier lifestyle to go to sleep earlier and wake up earlier. Not only that, I remember I used to always be this way as a younger child. I remember waking up early for school. I would wake up earlier than I even needed to. Just this waking up when it's dark and watching the sunrise and getting things done, even if it's just some simple chores around the house. getting things done before the sun rises or as it's rising and before most of the world is even awake. And it's living that lifestyle of being an early person and all of that. There's something very satisfying to it that just is not a part of your life when you don't do that. But anyway, not only for health reasons and for longevity reasons, because I don't want to die young. I'd like to live longer, and that's again what the research suggests is that lifespan is affected by being a quote unquote night owl, forever, uh, along with many other health imbalances and diseases, that it increases the likelihood of forming within your body. But the point of all of this, switching my sleep as well, is to go along with the dreaming, to go along with the lucid dreaming. And something that I learned years ago when I was 16 is that when you go to sleep at the same time every night, wake up at the same time every morning, consistently, and it's only been a few days here. I made the switch a few days ago. I went to bed at 9:30 and woke up at 5:30. Did something a little similar. I slept in a little bit yesterday, and now today's going to be my only third day of this daytime, this this morning person switch. But yeah, anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought there, where I was going with that. But this is as you can imagine, a pretty big change. 3 days in, it hasn't solidified itself yet. I could easily switch back, but I'm going to push through and make it happen, because already I'm enjoying this added experience to life. Rather than blacking out all night, maybe remembering a small, short dream memory here and there, I have experiences upon experiences as I sleep, and I still wake up feeling well rested, sometimes excited about the experiences that I had. There's something that I can't quite put my finger on over this past week and a half, almost 2 weeks now, but something does feel very right about this, about bringing this practice of simply, not even lucid dreaming, the practice of writing my dreams down back into my life. And it's similar to what I have said about massage therapy. What I've said about massage therapy in the context of my own life is that, and it could have been anything else, massage therapy is just what it was for me, or what it has been so far. But by nature, I love solitude. I love to be alone. I don't know if I could say that I'm not a social person, but I can say very safely that I am not a very social person. I enjoy to be alone. Under most circumstances, I don't enjoy talking too much. While there may be many exceptions to that, in general, I just love to be alone and be at peace and be in silence, not be surrounded with any sort of drama or any need to communicate or listen. It's as simple as saying I love to be alone. But at the same time, I have a care for others that is within me. I have a desire for others to feel better, a desire to help others, that for my whole life I was never acting on until I went to school for massage therapy, learned a skill I could use to help others, and then began doing that. Once I began doing that, it opened up a whole new part of myself, and it has allowed other parts of myself to grow along this whole career path, this whole journey. And there's a level of fulfillment and satisfaction in my life from doing that was never there before. And that is the downside of this not being able to work for months due to this COVID-1984 pandemic in our new contact-free world. That has been the downside, is that I'm not experiencing that fulfillment every day that I work of helping people. I'm coping well with that, I believe. It hasn't destroyed me or crushed me entirely, but it's, I can get down sometimes, but anyway, that's not the that can be taken care of in a multitude of ways. It doesn't need to even be through massage therapy. Any form of helping others can take care of that. I just haven't been doing it for months, and it's not as though I'm being prevented from doing it. I'm just not. But anyway, the point of mentioning that was that that's the same thing as this lucid dreaming. It's this very strong, well, similar. It's not that I'm not helping anyone when I lucid dream, or I don't feel that I am. But it's similar in the sense that dreams and the practice of lucid dreaming is a very strong interest of mine, a very strong fascination of mine, and something that I've always valued. Even before learning lucid dreaming, just as a kid, I've loved dreams. I love dreams when you can fly and when crazy things happen, things that are fantastic and surreal and things that could never take place in waking life. I've always loved that. But for many years now, I haven't been exploring it. It's been this strong interest that I've, in a sense, just not forgotten about, but sort of turned my back on or didn't care about. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to pinpoint one single reason. There may be many reasons why I originally broke the habit and then never got back into it. Other than for short periods of time, I know I went back and said, I'm going to keep a dream journal. And I did it for some time and then stopped again. But I'm experiencing that same thing now, where there was this thing, like just like that care for others that wanted to be expressed but wasn't being expressed, and then was once I started to practice massage therapy and helping others relieve their aches and pains, and even on a lesser level just to feel good in the moment. There was that desire that was now being filled, desire to help others. Now there is this interest that is being explored, this interest that has been there this whole time for years that I have not been exploring, and I'm beginning to explore it again. And it's a really positive feeling, and it's a shift that has needed to happen. And as crazy as it sounds, so this might get a little off the rails here because it's going into a different topic, but it is completely related as well. I've used cannabis in the past several years to treat, to treat symptoms of depression initially. And it actually, when I use it correctly, it can, and it has the ability, or I guess I'm able to work with it in a way where it can, if not pull me out of a hole, it can help me cope in times when I am really not feeling it, when I'm really not feeling life. It has helped me immensely, and I will always recognize the value in it for that. But more recently, very recently, especially with the not working, I've allowed myself to have it even more, because it's just, my thinking was, why not? Or just why not see what this is like? Because I've never been a quote unquote stoner, someone who has weed every day or several times a day every day. But I experimented with that for about a month and a half, maybe more. It's funny because I've known people who thought I was, people who assumed I had done that, or that's the way I used it, but it never was. And what I learned in this month and a half or so of doing that is that, well, first of all, that's not necessarily for me. That method of use does not properly treat whatever it is I use cannabis to treat. It's not as simple as saying, like I mentioned, depression or something, symptoms of depression. It's not as simple as that. There is a way that it brings a certain quality to life, but when I do it, well, I'll say it like this. So my new policy is that I allow myself to do it, to have some, to get high on Sundays. And what is the point of that? Why do that? Well, that's where the value of cannabis has always been for me. That's where in my early days of having it, of trying it, of experimenting with it, that's always how I did it, and that's where the value was. The value disappears when it is used every day. There's still something there, but it's much lesser, and there's so many negative side effects that get in the way of things that it's no longer a positive, powerful tool. And using it once a week is a positive, powerful tool, or even less than once a week would be even more powerful. But once a week is a good place where tolerance never builds, and there's never a need to spend crazy money on it or anything like that and form a real habit out of it. But if it is used once a week or less, it has this power to shift my perspective. So an easy example is, let's say there was some stressful event, some drama unfolded in my life, an argument perhaps, and the situation was handled. I handled it or tried to handle it in this way or that way. And normally I would just, it is in my nature, I guess, just the way that I am, I would just kind of move on, just block it out and move forward, dissociate from that event and just keep on going. Like, fuck that thing, fuck that person or whatever. Like, that's just, and just keep moving. The thing with cannabis is, let's say that happened earlier in the week. Now on Sunday, I have some. If there's something about that drama that unfolded that is unresolved, I will have no choice but to look at it. Whereas with my normal sober mind, I'm very good at just compartmentalizing different parts of myself and blocking things out, and just not even worrying about it. Just keep on moving. I can just keep hiding things from myself. But cannabis doesn't allow me to do that when I have it at that frequency, once a week or less, once every 2 weeks or so. I am forced during the high. The high will grab my head and put it and aim it, shove it into the direction of that experience that is something that it's an unresolved issue. It's something I did wrong. I acted a way that I should not have. Or maybe currently in that moment, there's something that I'm supposed to be doing and I'm not doing it. It will make me look at that. And that is an incredibly valuable experience for someone like myself, like I said, who naturally just doesn't do that, who naturally has this habit of looking the other way. And when you do it every day, or when I do it every day, I learned, especially several times a day, it becomes a different thing entirely. And there might be benefits to that thing, but I don't need those benefits. I need that one. I need the one that keeps me in check, right? When I do it every day, the keeping me in check doesn't happen because there's no longer a shift in perspective. You are always in this low to medium level of this being high, whatever perspective that is, and there's never that much of a switch. And going the opposite way doesn't necessarily change it. It's not like suddenly being sober is the new high, like one might suggest. It really isn't that way. It doesn't work that way. And even less than that. I mean, I've heard this idea and I've experienced it to be true. Let's talk about once a month or once every 2 months or once a year. I mean, the less frequently you have it, especially if you have a strong dose, what ends up happening in my case is you often would have a very uncomfortable experience if you have a large dose and you don't have the tolerance for it. It's a very uncomfortable experience where you're forced to look at a lot of things. Sometimes it could be overboard where you're thinking, about the past, things that can't really change. I mean, in your childhood or some mistake you made and you're focusing on that. But it's just that there's a lot of value to the paranoia and the forced sort of, how would I say that? It's like it almost forces me to explore my insecurities in my own mind and address them. Or if not address them, at least like, hey, don't forget, this is still here. There's still a big hole right here, something you need to work on. So anyway, I still find value in that experience, and I don't wish to remove it from my life. But I have quit drinking for the most part. Not that I had a problem with it, but it's a drug that has no place in my life, I have realized, other than for certain special occasions, once in a while. Sometimes it makes sense. Usually in a social situation where it just makes sense. Sometimes it makes sense, but it never makes sense to like drink to unwind for me. As a medication or something like that. I mean, it's very common for peers of mine to drink every day after work. Not a lot, just a few beers, couple beers to unwind. And I've learned that there's no place for that in my life, and alcoholism runs in my family, and it's really just a uh, largely it's a useless drug. There are some uses for it, but it's not much. It doesn't have much value to me. So, and that's not something, like I said, that I've even had a problem with. Even early on, before these big changes that I'm making right now, with all the sleep schedule and the going to bed at the same time every night and being sober every day. Even back at the beginning, I mean, that first month of lockdown, I said I quit drinking. I just said I'm not going to drink. Not that I was drinking every day anyway, but I just said I'm going to stop this because I knew how easy it would be, having this massively extended vacation, basically. How easy it would be just to drink and chill, and it's too easy. I felt that it was too easy. Also, oddly enough, again, not that I was addicted to it, though I have been in the past, and I can become addicted to video games. I wasn't at that time, but still, I pretty much stopped entirely at the beginning of this because, again, it's too easy to sit there and it didn't feel right with all of the craziness going on. At least in the media, some of it did spill over a little bit into my actual physical life, but just watching, hearing from others, news about the world, and a lot of the chaotic shifting that is happening and changes. It's just, I felt I needed to be sober for that and to be aware of it and to feel all of it and not numb myself to it. So I give myself credit for doing that, for making that decision. But anyway, this video is meant to be an update on, I guess, where I am at in life right now. Major changes, major shifts happening. I've spent so much time, I mean, not even, forget about, I mean, just in general, not even just the past 2 years, it's just, life is a roller coaster for me. Past 6 months, past 5 or 6 months, has the pattern of waves has sort of been pushed together a little tighter and spiked a little steeper here and there, but it's just, life is always a roller coaster, and I go through phases of motivation and inspiration where I am focused, and then phases where I am more unmotivated, what some on the outside would look at as lazy, but really just unmotivated, uncaring, apathetic phases, and just phases like that where really all I'm doing during that phase is, everything that I do is to cope with reality, cope with life, so that I stay afloat. And I do give myself credit for being able to do that. No major fuck ups so far, for the most part. It's just that I tend to be very critical on myself. Again, it's in my nature to be critical on myself since a small child. It's just how I think. It's how I look at myself. It's how I look at the world. And it's also how I look at loved ones, I think. I want myself and I want others to always be doing their best. I know from experience that that's not always possible, but that's what I want. And I'm making a more focused effort right now to do my best, to do better, and to just get my shit together, so to speak, internally, mentally, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, physically. So, yeah, I hope maybe you were able to get something from this video. If not, at least it serves as an update for where I've been. I know I haven't spoken to you guys in a long time. I do plan on uploading more frequently. I'm sure I've said that before and then went on to not upload for years, but it is a desire that I have. And at the very least, becoming this interested or this aware of my dreams again, at the very least, I know that there will be some interesting dream report videos coming at one point or the next. For the most part, though, over the past week and a half, there would be nothing worth sharing. A lot of my dreams I don't care to share. They're personal to me, and maybe they're not that exciting. But every so often, there's a very interesting experience that, feels worth sharing. And I'm sure I will do that when the time comes. And whenever, hopefully, I really hope I stick with this advanced piano piece I've chosen to learn. I think it's going to be the hardest piece I've ever learned. I've taken a couple baby steps so far, learning the skeleton of it. So, when that's finished, I'm sure I'll make a video and share a performance of that. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys are holding it together and coping all right with all of these changes, especially in this country. I don't know what it's like in other places. I went through a short phase here at the beginning of all this where I was watching the news nonstop because I don't do that. I haven't done that for a long time. But because of what happened, because of everything being shut down and all of this insanity, I started watching it all the time, and now I'm back to not watching it at all anymore. Other than I'm watching, I live in California. I'm watching like fire maps and making sure that there's no fires near me, so I don't need to evacuate my house. So far, so good. And I'm looking at air quality reports every day and things like this. But yeah, I went through a phase where I was watching everything again. It's so crazy how the news does this. I don't know if anyone else has realized this, but I'm sure you have. Many of you have. So a long time ago, I stopped because I used to watch TV a lot as a kid, and as a result, the news is on in the household. So it was always part of my life. Then maybe, like I said, around 16, 17, 18, 19, somewhere around there. I can't pinpoint it, but I just stopped with that. I realized it's not really healthy for me, so I stopped it and just focused on my own personal reality, everything that I can see and touch, everything that is real to me. And that felt like a much better use of my energy, a much easier way to manage all of the energy that is a part of me, and the energy that I project out into the world and into others. I become a healthier person, or my mind becomes healthier, my thinking becomes healthier when I don't program myself with this mass programming media that's put into all of the TV boxes and in the screen that's in everyone's living room and whatnot. Anyway, I did that for years, and then I moved with an individual who played the news all the time, and I watched it all the time, and I felt the shift, and I started to feel that shift again just during this phase, during this lockdown shit, where suddenly I'm becoming political. And under normal circumstances, I don't give a good goddamn about any of that stuff. I'm not a part of it. I don't see myself as a part of it. Oh, well, you should really care about that. Well, I think you need to care. You need to, like, that whole thing. I've never cared. But it's fascinating to watch how simply programming yourself every day with mass media that's just mass produced and put out there for everyone, for the masses, programming. Next thing you know, I do care. Next thing you know, I have polarized myself to this side or the other side on this issue or that issue, and I'm getting worked up about news stories and headlines. My actual emotional center becomes tethered to programming from this box with light in it, that sends out these messages, whether it's the TV or the computer. Fascinating stuff, you guys, to actually watch that and to go in and out of it. It has become, if it wasn't already apparent enough, it has become extremely apparent that that's just not for me. I am not that guy. I am not that person that is here to care about any of that stuff. If I really cared, or hey, if you really care, you should get involved, become a politician, do something. Like if that system, if that way of thinking turns you on, I think you should really get involved, because what I see a lot of in my own family and friends, people that I have known, and in myself, is that programming, however it happens, I don't know, but the programming gets you to polarize yourself, gets you to get worked up about, it's just like, okay, you're living a life, it's neutral. It's a neutral day. You wake up, another day. Then you turn on the screen, and the screen tells you something, and now you feel a certain kind of way. I wasn't feeling that way before the screen, but the screen told me a story, and the screen wouldn't lie to me. They wouldn't lie to me. It's real. You should care about this too. Why don't you fucking care? It's this whole psycho thing that starts happening. It's unbelievable. But anyway, what I notice is There's people who will argue and they'll get worked up, they'll yell, they might even fight with loved ones about it, but they ain't doing shit. You know, they're not doing anything about it. They're doing nothing to change any of it. They're not involved in any way, shape, or form. What do? They vote for the president. You know, they vote for some. I mean, it's like crazy. It's crazy to me, and that's very common. Because what's not crazy is when someone is that worked up and that into it, and they're doing something about it. They're actually doing something. That's not crazy. That makes perfect logical sense. I can't help but respect anyone who does that in any avenue of life. You care about something, do something about it. But to sit there and you know, man, it's just too much for me. I can't do it. I can't. It's not for me. It's for them. Apparently, it's not for me. Anyway, I forgot how I got into that, but yeah. Hopefully, you're staying sane. Hopefully, you're staying calm and focused, and maybe you're doing what I'm doing. Maybe you're reevaluating your life and changing things, because the time is now. I mean, some people think this is like the end times. Regardless of how you want to define it, many major shifts and changes are occurring right now, within many different systems and even many different individuals. It's a time of change, and that change is not fun. Usually, it's not comfortable. You know, most people don't want to change. You want everything to stay how it was and to stay with the normal routine. It's going to be a crazy time, a lot crazier than we've seen already. It's going to get worse. If worse means more chaotic, before it gets more harmonious and smooths out. And I'm speaking about the big picture when I say that, but you know, just hopefully you're coping all right, and you're managing everything okay, and you're hanging in there. Because like I said, though right now I'm on a real positive flow. I'm bringing back a I might even say a passion. I always say to myself, when I analyze myself, when I look inward and I reflect, I don't feel like I have a strong passion for anything, but dreaming might be, you know, the interest, this fascination that I have with dreams might be a passion, because I'm feeling really good now that I'm bringing it back and that I've decided to make this change, and I'm beginning to adjust my entire sleep schedule and way of life around it, to the point where, I mean, you know, obviously now, because of these changes, when I go back to my current job, or if that's not going to happen and I get a new job, I'm going to be the opening shift now. Like I'm changing my whole flow of life. So it's a very positive thing. But like I said in the beginning, it hasn't been these past 5 or 6 months. It's been a hell of a roller coaster ride of emotions and emotional states. And yeah, man, just you guys, I hope you're doing well. I'll see you next time. Yeah. See you later.